can have some fun. Are you ready for this?
Fuck yeah, come on.
Are we just getting started?
We win this battle, we take the city.
Hey, Tommy. Make him suffer.
Spoilers, story arcs, who's on the chopping block, what's been teased by Gary Lennon in terms of spoilers going into the last and final season for Force. We're going to be getting into all of that. But over the past week, unless you've been living under a rock, you would have noticed they've started to ramp up the news around the world of Power, not just when it comes to Power Book 4 Force. For those who may have missed the news or are just catching up, they did also break the news that Charlie Mann and Spencer Moore will also be playing the young Tommy and Ghost for Power Origins. I broke that news down and the link to that video will be in the description section below for those who may have missed it. However, there was also a brand new Power Book 4 Force teaser. They also gave us some brand new quotes from Gary Lennon. Gary Lennon spoke specifically about 4 topics: the situation with Maria, Tommy's situation with the CBI and the drug game. He spoke about Vic Flynn, and what he said about Vic only adds further fuel to what I've personally been saying, where I believe Vic is going to be a huge wildcard going into the final season. We're going to get into that in chapter 3. He also gave us a bonus spoiler. He teased a brutal season with some heartbreaking moments, and I will be getting around to that right at the end. So stick with this video right through to the end, because there's a lot of new information to unpack to go with the teaser scenes for the final season in Chicago for Power Book 4 Force Season 3.
I'm not gonna lose what we built with no damn body.
Egan's a dead man walking.
Time to go terrorize the devil.
Y'all gotta pick a side and pick it right the fuck now.
To let the best man win.
Now, coming off the back of Season 2, one of the big storylines was Tommy's new love interest, who only happened to be the sister of a Mexican drug dealer in Miguel Garcia. Right at the beginning, Diamond warned him don't get involved with Maria because there was a graveyard full of guys who tried before, but we all know Tommy Egan. When it comes to love interest, nothing gets in his way. Now, Miguel took Maria right at the end, and it sent Tommy crazy, and I do think that's what Gary Lennon is teasing at the beginning of Season 3 as well, but also a very quick resolution to the Maria storyline. So this is what he had to say on Tommy and Maria. I'm a big believer in ending seasons and ending episodes with a question that we answer in the following episodes. We get to it right away, and you get to see a very interesting resolution to that dilemma. So, in terms of this storyline with Maria, even though they've left it a kind of a cliffhanger at the end of Season 2 with Tommy's reaction, it does seem like they're going to get to this particular storyline pretty much straight away in Season 3. They've made no secret that Tommy will find his way back to Maria. We've now seen a couple of teaser scenes and images where the proof is right there. They're not hiding the fact that Tommy's going to be reunited with Maria pretty quick. What Gary Lennon has teased in terms of a quick resolution, I wouldn't be surprised to see this happen by maybe episode 2, maybe even in episode 1. It also tells us that this story in Season 3 isn't going to be about Tommy trying to find Maria. In my opinion, the story is going to be more about whether she's accepting the world that she lives in. She's the brother of Miguel Garcia, but she's also in a relationship with his competition and one of his enemies, so who does she pick? Or can she be kind of a peacemaker in between? Can she somehow turn this upside down and have Tommy and Miguel put their differences aside? And I say this because I do think there's going to be a lot of problems between Tommy and the CBI. You never know what's around the corner with these people you work closest to. We're going to be talking about Tommy and Diamond in the next particular chapter, but just rounding off on Maria, there's going to be a quick resolution to her disappearance, and this image right here, along with the ones that we've seen before, Maria's going to have a lot of tough choices to make. We know she wasn't involved in the game before, but when you're involved with someone like Tommy Egan, when you're the sister of a Mexican drug lord in Miguel Garcia, you are technically involved by association. So it does seem like Maria will have to kind of make a choice. She's going to be involved a lot more than the likes of Holly and Lakeisha were, and we are also going to be talking about Tommy's past in just a moment. But can Tommy keep her safe come the end? That's the big question. Now, with that being said, moving on to Tommy and Diamond, and potentially a knee-buckling blow for Tommy Egan. Now, in terms of Tommy and Diamond, this is what Gary Lennon had to say on their particular partnership. Tommy and Diamond are moving in that direction to ascension, but they will be stumbling out of the blocks. There'll be something that brings Tommy to his knees. Now, when I first read this part of the quote from Gary Lennon, I wrote a couple of notes and bullet points down of moments where we've seen Tommy buckling to his knees. I've got 3 particular names on my list, and they read Holly Weaver, Lakeisha, and then Ghost. There aren't many times where we've seen Tommy buckling to his knees. There have been other moments like Milan when he forced Tommy onto his knees. Maybe that's what Gary Lennon means, but I'm going with what I mentioned before. I do think it's going to be a big death that brings Tommy to his knees that changes the game entirely. Holly Weaver was someone who brought him to his knees when he choked her out, and also when he found out she was pregnant at the time with his baby. When he also found Lakeisha, that was another heartbreaking moment in Power that also brought him to his knees. He actually bought an engagement ring with cash. He had this whole proposal planned. He also bought flowers, but walked in on Lakeisha in a pool of blood, where he just sank to his knees. Again, the same with Ghost. And with what Gary Lennon's teasing here, maybe we're going to see something very similar in for Season 3. In my opinion, something could potentially be happening with either JP or Maria. Now let's put aside JP for a moment, because we spoke about him in my last video. Going back to Maria, I mentioned she's going to have a choice to make, how we see her with a gun in hand, how there's going to be a quick resolution to her disappearance, and probably her being more involved with her having a decision to make in terms of which life does she want. We also saw the return of Holly in the hallucination scene warning Tommy he can't have both. He can't keep chasing and building an empire in the drug game, while also falling in love at the same time, because we all know what happens to his love interest, and that's what Holly Weaver was warning him in for Season 2. History is definitely not on Tommy's side when it comes to his past love interests, and when you actually kind of think about it, this is actually Tommy's double life. Just like we used to mention Ghost's double life of being a drug dealer and a legit businessman, or being with Angela, you can't do it all. So, I presented you with a history in terms of what's made Tommy fall to his knees before. Now my question to you guys is, could it be Maria? Could it be JP? Or could it be a situation like Milan? Or maybe you guys think it's something else? Definitely get in the comment section on this one. But going back to Gary Lennon's original quote, he also mentioned this alongside Tommy and Diamond building their empire. So, whatever brings Tommy to his knees, whether it's something to do with Maria, JP, or something completely different, it will have a huge impact on this relationship between Diamond, Tommy, and also the CBI. Keep that in mind. But speaking of surprises and wildcard moments, let's talk about another character who could absolutely flip the script. Now on Vic Flynn, Gary Lennon said the following: "There are many ways to evade what he believes is his destiny. He could take his own life, he could be killed, he could get away with it. There are many options, and I think you all as the audience members will be very surprised with the option that we choose in order to tell his story." Now for those who have been paying attention to what I've been saying for the best part of a year, and also what I said again last week when we broke down some other quotes from Gary Lennon and also Joseph Sikora, I don't think this is going to be as straightforward as Tommy or Diamond getting rid of a snitch. We know that Tommy never lets snitches leave in the world of Power. We know he doesn't let them get away with it. Again, history proves that it's not looking good for Vic, but I have been saying and thinking there's a big twist to this tale, and that's what Gary Lennon's basically teasing. I call Vic a wildcard, and even though Gary Lennon didn't use that particular term, that's what I think he definitely is. Going into this final season, he definitely is a wildcard, because we don't know what they have planned for his character. Gary Lennon's leaving all of the options on the table, and he's basically telling us we've got a huge surprise in store when it comes to Vic Flynn. He's telling us as the audience, you're basically not going to be able to predict what we're going to do with Vic, which in my opinion, I'm all for. I love it when Power is really unpredictable. I do think over the past few seasons there's been moments where a lot of us have been able to look at the broader picture, look at where things are on the chessboard, and been able to kind of pinpoint exactly where things are heading. With this final season, I do think there's going to be a lot of surprises, and it does seem like Vic is definitely going to be one of them. Across the board, when we look at the broader Power world, there's a broader theme: fate versus choice. Will Vic have a choice come the end? Or is his fate sealed because of his actions in Season 2? Is he able to redeem himself in some shape or form? That's the question I'm going to leave you guys with on this particular chapter. Could Vic genuinely surprise Tommy and potentially even help him in the grand scheme of things when it comes to his war, his family, or anything else? But last but not least, moving on to the last chapter, the bonus spoiler. Now this one's the cherry on top. The interview that Gary Lennon did with TV Line, they also gave us a bonus spoiler. Gary Lennon teased that episode 5 is really delicious, brutal and fantastic, and it also is going to deliver on every single cylinder. The penultimate episode is also going to be a heartbreaker. Now just straight off the bat, I think with episode 5 with it being the mid-season mark, we normally do expect this to be a big episode anyway in the world of Power. But just before we get into what that could be, episode 5 brings us to 5th of December, because we know for season 3 is premiering on 7th of November, and we all know around the corner is going to be holiday season, Christmas and New Year, and we've never really seen power on around the Christmas time, even though we'd love Tommy Egan to actually cancel Christmas. So I wouldn't be actually surprised if that's when we get a bit of a break and where they pick things up back around maybe mid-Jan. I do think with Gary Lennon teasing that episode 5 is brutal, I actually wouldn't be surprised if that's where they kind of pause things for a moment and have that mid-season break. That's number 1. Number 2, what could the brutal moment be? I do think we've already touched on it before. Tommy falling to his knees, in my opinion, probably happens either in episode 5 or the penultimate episode. Both episodes are going to be absolutely huge when it comes to season 3. I do think, in my opinion, JP is out of here. I do think that's something that I can see happening maybe in the episode 5 mark, which just escalates things even more, or flips the script in terms of alliances going into the final 5. I do think that's something we should all be accustomed to by now in the world of power. Alliances are always short term. Big moments such as JP's death or Maria's death at the hands of someone like maybe even Janard or Shanti could flip the entire script, where we may even see Tommy teaming up with Miguel Garcia, who knows. But episode 5 is going to be delicious, brutal, fantastic. It's going to be delivering on every single cylinder. The penultimate episode is also going to be a heartbreaker, and that's episode 9. Again, JP's death or Maria. Those are two characters who are very high up on my list, because those are two characters that would probably hit Tommy the hardest. Those two would really break his heart and sink him to his knees. Definitely Kate and D-Mac as well, we can't rule them out either. But I just can't see them killing Kate, and I do think D-Mac, I do actually hope he survives because I do want him to transition into Power Legacy. But those are the two characters on my list that could actually be the heartbreaking moment. Now I don't think it's just going to be Tommy's heart that's going to be broken. I do think it's going to be an episode which will probably carry the theme throughout. It could be an episode where we see multiple hearts being broken. For example, Bobby DeFranco finding Stacy marks under the white top, Janard having to kill Shanti to maybe save Diamond. There could also be an ultimate sacrifice from a character like Vic Flynn. I do think it is going to be a theme across the episode, not just one specific moment, but rather a few. Because you're not just getting to the business end of the season, you're getting to the business end of the entire series. Those are the two episodes 9 and 10 where they're going to be starting to close character arcs. So I do think the Heartbreaker theme will probably run across the entire board. Keep that in mind. Now with that being said, we've unpacked a lot of new talking points in this particular breakdown. But what does it mean for Force's endgame? That's where I'm going to leave the floor open for you guys down below in the comment section. I've given my thoughts, now it's your turn. Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.